The pandemic has led, in fact, to an increase in mental illness and psychological distress for Americans and even people around the world. Health officials have designated today as World Mental Health Day, and many people have turned to their faith during these unprecedented times. Joe Padilla is the CEO and the co-founder of the Grace Alliance. It's a Christian mental health recovery and support organization that provides resources and training to pastors and community leaders to help those affected by mental illness. And he joins us live now to talk about this. Mr. Padilla, thank you for your time and for what you do.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
You know, it's great that you're doing what you do because a lot of people just assume that people who are in ministry, whether they be pastors or some of them maybe parachurch organization, that they're kind of immune from these type of situations of mental illness or depression or anxiety. But this really hit your family very close to you. In fact, your wife kind of pulled you out of the ministry for a time to help take care of her, I don't know what you want to call it, if it was an emotional or mental breakdown or what was going on, but can you describe your story and what led to what you do today?
Yeah, so basically our journey is we were kind of in ministry, specifically in missions, and for a number of years, about 8 years, she just kind of suffered with ongoing depression, anxiety, and that just culminated to kind of a complete breakdown of our family, of our life, everything. So to the point where we had to step out of ministry. Then at that point, really, I kind of, being bounced around from ministry to medical care and all those types of things, really kind of dug down deep into the science and to the factors of what makes this all get better. And so we started to apply all these principles together. And over about a year and a half of a process, she really regained her mental and emotional health and our whole family life to the point where I had two other mental health professionals say, from where she was to where she is now, she's a clinical miracle. And out of that journey, that's where we started to put together programs and training and different things to help the church community understand how to do this, both from science and integrating the faith experience so that we really see people's lives not only just get supported, but get better.
In your view, and from your research, what was the difference or what was missing from those 8 years of trying to get help and relief from her depression? What was missing in all those years of counseling or therapy that she was getting that she wasn't really receiving?
Well, I think that what the challenge was that sometimes in the view in the church, or it's kind of like, you're just broken, it's just sin, so let's just deal with that. When there is a factor where you do look at those factors, but you look at the whole person. And I think that's what one of the things that we really got through this process was an understanding that this is a whole health approach. This isn't just a spiritual problem. This is a whole person factor to really learn and how to grow. And that's what we really have brought to our programs and what we do, because I know, looking at research and all those factors, that those, when you look at the whole health approach, you really see a whole person recovery.
On your website, it's mentalhealthgracealliance.org. This is what your website says. It says, integrating science and faith in Jesus for mental and emotional health and resiliency. Can you have one without the other, in your view?
Well, I'll say yes, because in one sense you can have a whole health approach. Now, if you're missing the spiritual component, that's a choice of the person. But here's what the real essence of faith in the mental health journey is, because when you add the faith component and someone who is in that spiritual faith experience, the research shows that not only is faith a supporter of that journey, but when you add faith into the mental health process and that recovery process, faith is actually an accelerator of mental health recovery and life resiliency. I can talk through all kinds of research because I really have taken the time to look at what does the research show with faith and mental health, and you just always see the faith accelerator and this mental health recovery accelerator happening with lots of individuals. And from research to research, it shows that people with a faith experience actually recover faster than somebody who doesn't have that faith experience. Not to say that people that don't have faith or that value don't recover. It's just that faith becomes an accelerator in that process, where whether it's depression, anxiety, and other factors that are going on with those individuals, not only from an emotional standpoint, but we even see physical changes within the brain, like the cerebral cortex actually gets thicker. You see the recovery rate, even for those who have predisposed genetic factors, we see a lot of healing with those individuals because of this faith experience. And it's what the faith experience and the focus of that faith experience is really the kind of the key factor.
You know, mental health issues have been around long before the times in which we live. I mean, decades, millennia, actually. There's been issues of depression and anxiety. But in this day in particular, we have a couple things that other generations have not dealt with. First of all, we have the coronavirus pandemic. That is a big issue. And I know I've spoken to psychologists and sociologists who say that, you know, suicide thoughts and attempts have gone up exponentially. So let's first talk about that. What do people do who are struggling during the pandemic and the social distancing and the isolation that they feel? How can they get out of this stage of depression or anxiety that they're suffering in right now?
Right. Yeah. So the first thing is to validate the pain. What's happening with individuals going through this pandemic, it's what's called the collective trauma. The unprecedented times that we're in, the loss of jobs, the loss of relationships, and different factors, we're losing the daily experiences of that keep us emotionally vibrant. So with this isolation, that causes a lot of factors. So one of the things that we do as a family, or through our stuff, is that we help people first. Number one is validate the pain that you're in, and so that it's okay that you're suffering. It's not a fault or a weakness. It's a normal response to stress. The second thing is you've got to have a factor of life to keep it in motion. That's what we always say. Just keep things in motion so that it builds natural momentum. It's when you stop that motion. And what I mean by motion is, one, sleep, exercise, the foods that you eat, so that you're building good immunity and that boosting because what you do for your gut does just as much for the brain, and so all of these factors that keep the motion of life together. And then also look at perspective. If you're hurting in perspective, get with other people in community that know how to talk through this, whether that's therapy or a small group like what we have. A lot of our groups, we have over 400 groups all over the world, and they're meeting together, and it's helping them through these crises. And we have a workbook that's called Thrive, and that basically walks you through the whole health approach of how to manage that. And we actually have some free stuff on our website to help people really get how do you schedule, how do you deal with these thoughts, and really focus on being resilient, not trying to be perfect.
And the website is mentalhealthgracealliance.org. One final question that's unique to our times in which we live now that they have not seen in past generations is social media. How much does social media factor into mental illness?
Yeah, I think that the social media factor, and this is a long argument that goes on for years. When the smartphone came out, then we saw a huge increase, and there's this link with mental health depreciating. But I think with social media, I think it's take a break. There is so much oversaturation of information that causes us to be immobilized. So take a break from the social media. And then even if you do want social media, you've got to tailor it to things that feed you rather than drain you. And there's so much out there. So the social media can be good if you harness it for good, that it feeds you rather than drains you.
Great advice. Joe Padilla, the CEO, the co-founder of the Grace Alliance. Again, the website is mentalhealthgracealliance.org. Mr. Padilla, thank you for your time. I really appreciate your insight.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, and have a great day, and we appreciate it.